Okay, so today we will start with the general structure of GIT. That means histology of GIT. So you know from where to where the GIT is extending, right? Now, and we know that GIT is a tubular structure. Now, in case of GIT, if you see the structure, okay, it is having 4 basic layers. So in entire GIT, those 4 basic layers are common. Everywhere you will be getting those 4 basic layers. Now, among those 4 basic layers, there will be some changes, okay, that you have to understand what are the changes, okay. And though esophagus and the stomach, both these are the part of GIT, okay. So today first you have to understand the structure of the GIT, okay, specifically the histology of GIT, followed by we will study in detail about esophagus and stomach. Now you can see in the general structure of GIT 4 basic layers are there. What are these layers? Mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, externa, adventitia or serosa. These are the 4 basic layers. I will request everyone to by heart these layers, okay, because throughout the GIT we will be using this. Now in each and every layer, what do you think, what you can expect in each and every layer? That means this is the innermost layer and this is the outermost layer, okay. This is the innermost layer mucosa and this is the outermost layer. So always you know that you have to write serially about each and every layer whenever you are writing or whenever you are drawing the diagram, okay. So please don't do the mistake, don't mix about the layers, okay. You have to write serially in the exam. If you are writing every layer but if it is not serial, then you will not get mark in the exam. Please keep that in mind. Now if you see the mucosa first layer, okay, it is made up of it is consisting of 3 additional layers, okay. That means 3 layers together it will form the mucosa. What are these layers? Lining epithelium, lamina propria and muscularis mucosae, okay. So these 3 layers together it will constitute the mucosa. Next, submucosa is mainly made up of dense irregular connective tissue, which already we have discussed in connective tissue chapter. Now here you have to apply the knowledge of connective tissue whatever you have studied, okay. Now in case of submucosa, what is present? Dense irregular connective tissue. Along with that, can you see one important plexus I have mentioned, that is called as Meissner's plexus. So what exactly is this plexus? Any idea? Do you have any idea about this plexus? क्या होता है Meissner's plexus? What is this? Nerve supply for GIT. Not exact. Do you know any other plexuses in GIT? Yes, yes, bolo, yes. Hornbill? No. If you see the layers of the GIT, okay, the first plexus which you will get, that is on the submucosal layer, that is called as Meissner's plexus. Another nerve plexus is present, that is present in the muscularis externa, that is called as myenteric plexus or also called as Auerbach's plexus, okay. Now these 2 plexuses, whatever they are present in these 2 layers, what is the main function? First of all, they are having both sympathetic parasympathetic component, but the ganglia which are present, that are the parasympathetic ganglia, okay. Now the fibers which are coming out, especially in case of Meissner's plexus, what is the function? This Meissner's plexus is responsible for secretion and absorption, okay, जो secretion होता है from the GIT. Now we know that in stomach gastric glands are there where secretion are taking place. Next, in case of duodenal glands are there from where secretions are taking place, okay. So that secretion is controlled by this particular Meissner's plexus, okay. Next, if you see the muscularis externa, here mainly smooth muscle cells are there and that also arranged in 2 different layers. First, inner circular and outer longitudinal, but there are some areas where modification can be seen, especially in case of stomach. In case of stomach, an additional layer is present, that is the oblique layer. Now in between these layers, okay, another nerve plexus is present, that is called as myenteric plexus, तो वो माइंटरिक प्लेक्सस का फंक्शन क्या है? इट कंट्रोल्स द मोटिलिटी ऑफ द GIT. वी नो दैट GIT में एक मूवमेंट होता है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज पेरिस्टोलसिस. So that peristalsis is controlled by the myenteric plexus which is present in the muscularis externa. Okay. And lastly adventitia or serosa. Now adventitia and serosa meaning are not same, it is different. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between adventitia and serosa? Think. Adventitia already we have discussed in case of trachea, if you remember. Right, in case of trachea we have discussed about the adventitia. I don't know whether you have revised or not. So the adventitia is nothing but the connective tissue where large blood vessels, nerves, lymphatics are present. Serosa का मतलब क्या है? Serosa is nothing but the peritoneum. Okay, serosa is nothing but the peritoneum, peritoneal lining. So we know that the abdominal organs or various part of the GIT, these are intraperitoneal. What is the meaning of intraperitoneal? Means it is covered anteriorly and posteriorly by peritoneum. This is the intraperitoneal. Okay. So the part of the GIT which is intraperitoneal, in that case we can see that serosa is present. Now there are some part of the GIT where it is retroperitoneal. Okay. That will be, in that case it will be adventitia. Okay. So that you have to know and you have to mention whenever you are writing. Now I will give an example. When we will be discussing about the esophagus, so if you know that esophagus, most of the length is in the thorax. Total length of the esophagus कितना होता है? Approximately 25 centimeter. The length of the esophagus is approximately 25 centimeter. Only 2.5 to 3 centimeter is present in the abdomen. Mostly it is present in the thorax and some part is present in the neck. So in those cases peritoneum नहीं रहेगा, because in the thorax we know peritoneum is not there. So in that case it will be adventitia. But if you are writing about the part of the esophagus of the stomach, then you have to mention that some part is covered by peritoneum. So in that area we will be getting the serosa. Okay. Next, this is a 3D diagram where you can see all the layers of the GIT. I hope you can see the mucosa. See, this is the mucosa. In mucosa you can see lining epithelium, lamina propria and muscularis mucosa. Now this muscularis mucosa is also a smooth muscle layer. Okay, the muscularis mucosa is also a smooth muscle layer and it is well developed in case of stomach and intestine, small intestine. Now can anyone tell me what will be the function of this muscularis mucosae? Smooth muscle layer है. Any idea? Contraction, relaxation, muscle is there, then contraction, relaxation will be there. Ultimately what will be the result? No, that is done by externa, muscularis externa. Two layers are there. I hope you have noticed. See, two layers are there. First, over here in the mucosa we are getting the muscularis mucosae, ठीक and again here muscularis externa where two different layers of muscle fibers are there, inner circular, outer longitudinal. तो इसका main function क्या है? इसका main function है motility, to propel the food from one part to another. The peristalsis, it is done by the muscularis externa. What about the muscularis mucosae? इसका function क्या होगा? No, muscle cannot facilitate absorption. Muscle lubrication. Say I will give an example. Whenever you are eating food, suppose dal hai, chapati hai, or suppose dal sabji, what you used to do? You used to mix it and then you eat. Okay? Now whenever it goes into the stomach or whenever after stomach it goes into the intestine, then what happen? Stomach से secretion आता है, intestine से secretion आता है. It has to mix with the food. Then only the digestion will start. Now अंदर हाथ डाल के तो mix नहीं कर सकते. Is it possible? No. तो वो mixing कौन करता है? This one. Okay? Very important. After that only proper digestion will take place. Okay, so here you can see the layers. Mucosa, 3 layers are there: lining epithelium, lamina propria, and muscularis mucosae. Okay, next you can see the submucosal layer. See, this is the submucosal layer. Now, as I said, submucosal layer में mainly क्या रहता है? Dense irregular connective tissue. Now there are some cases where in submucosa we will see mucus glands are present. Best example is esophagus, duodenum, where mucus secreting glands are present. Okay, but in stomach it is not there, but in other parts of the GIT it is present. Okay, so you can see the glands in the submucosa. See, some glands are shown in the submucosa. Next, in the submucosa, one plexus is there. What is the name? Meissner's plexus. Okay, Meissner's plexus is also there. Next, next to that, the layer is muscularis externa. You can see 2 different groups of muscles are there, or you can say 2 different layers of muscles are there: inner circular and outer longitudinal. But in case of stomach, additional layer is there. Okay, so first will be the inner oblique layer, then circular layer, middle circular, and outer longitudinal. 3 distinct layers are visible in case of stomach. Okay, and ultimately if you go out, then you will be getting serosa or adventitia. So we have seen the difference between serosa and adventitia. जहाँ पे peritoneum है, there you will be writing about serosa. Where peritoneum is absent, in that part you will be mentioning about the adventitia. Okay, so that is all about the layers of the GIT. Okay, now we will see what exactly is present in each and every layer, because as I said, there are some modification. Now I will give an example. What do you think, what will be the lining epithelium of GIT? Huh? Squamous? No. It is simple columnar epithelium, that also mucus secreting. Simple columnar epithelium, that also mucus secreting. That is the lining epithelium of entire GIT. But there is exception. Can you tell me where is the exception? Think. In most of the GIT, lining epithelium is simple columnar epithelium. But in 2 areas, exceptions are there. Can you name any one area? What I have observed is the concept of epithelial tissue chapter is not clear in all the groups. I have observed. Okay, or you have not studied anything. Which one is there, I don't know, but what I have felt that the concept of the epithelial tissue chapter is not clear, or you have not studied. Okay, please study. If you see the example of esophagus, what do you think, what lining epithelium will be there in the esophagus? No, see, that's why concept is not clear. Okay, that's why I will request everyone, please go and study the epithelium chapter properly. Try to understand the concept. Okay, कि कौन सा epithelium कहाँ रहना चाहिए और कौन सा epithelium का क्या function होता है. Okay, squamous कहाँ पे रहना चाहिए, cuboidal कहाँ पे रहना चाहिए, columnar कहाँ पे रहना चाहिए. Okay, based on their function, then you will never give wrong answer. देखो इसोफेगस का फंक्शन क्या होता है, इसोफेगस का फंक्शन क्या है? तो whenever you are swallowing something through esophagus, it is going to the stomach. So it is a tubular structure. Generally the lumen is kept closed. Whenever you are swallowing, it will open, food will pass, again it will get closed. So whenever the food is passing through the esophagus, at that time जो lumen of the esophagus है and the food के बीच में friction होता है. So the areas where friction is present, उसमें कौन सा epithelium रहता है? Stratified रहता है. Then why you are telling simple columnar? Have you got my point? That's why I told you epithelium chapter का जो concept है वो clear नहीं हुआ है. तो please, और you have not studied, दोनों में से एक होगा या दोनों ही हो सकता है. तो please go and study the epithelial tissue chapter. Okay? नहीं तो every time you can't by heart. Okay? हर जगह का lining epithelium, it's not possible. You can't by heart. For that, the basic concept should be clear. Then you can write from your own. Or else वो MCQ में देखा ना क्या हुआ this time. I hope you have observed what happened in MCQ. Don't forget. Okay, so in case of mucosa, 3 layers are there, that is lining epithelium, lamina propria and muscularis mucosae. Okay. Now, if you see the lining epithelium, most of the GIT, what is the lining epithelium? It is simple columnar epithelium. Now, there are some exception, except at the esophagus and terminal part of the anal canal. In this particular areas, simple columnar epithelium is not there. Why? Because continuous friction is taking place. So, wherever friction is there at that particular point, it will be stratified. Okay, that also stratified squamous, and here it will be non-keratinized epithelium. If it is skin, then it is stratified squamous keratinized. Okay, oral cavity, esophagus, lower part or terminal part of the anal canal. Okay, in those stratified squamous is there, but it is non-keratinized. Okay, if you see the skin, it is also stratified squamous, but it is keratinized. Now try to learn the difference between the keratinized and non-keratinized. क्या होता है? Now the lining epithelium in most of the GIT is simple columnar epithelium. Now इसका function क्या है? So it is having 3 function: protection, absorption and secretion. जो lining epithelium होता है, okay, what is the basic function of that lining epithelium? 3 functions are there, that is protection, absorption and secretion. Now what do you mean by protection? How it will protect? Just now I have mentioned that the lining epithelium of the gut is simple columnar epithelium, that also mucus secreting. So from that cell mucus is secreting, that will protect from the enzymes or the acid which is secreted from the various part of the GIT. So that is the protection. Okay? Next, absorption. So already you know the absorption is taking place from intestine. For that the cells which are present, same simple columnar epithelium only. In case of intestine, these are called as enterocytes. These are called as enterocytes. The speciality of those cells are on the surface of those cells, microvilli are present. Okay, that increases the surface area for absorption. Along with that, villi are also there. Okay, so don't mix villi and microvilli. दो अलग अलग है. Okay, I have seen student used to get confused क्योंकि in case of small intestine, villi भी है, microvilli भी है. So student used to get confused. Don't get confused. दोनों अलग अलग है. Microvilli is microscopic structure. That also without electron microscope you can't see properly. और जो villi होता है with the help of magnifying lens you can see easily. Okay, दोनों का structure अलग होता है, दोनों का function भी अलग होता है. Okay, so that one we'll discuss next week in the intestine chapter. Next week we'll discuss about the small intestine, large intestine. At that time I will show you the structure of villi, microvilli, everything. Okay. And secretion. So some secretory functions are also there. Okay, as you will go further, you will see what are the different types of secretion taking place. Okay, so these are some important functions of the lining epithelium of the GIT. Next, in order to increase the absorption, what are the modification present in the GIT? Do you know? Just now I have mentioned villi hai, microvilli hai. After that extensive length, then plica circularis. Can anyone tell me what is plica circularis? You have never heard about plica circularis. That day, while explaining about the internal structure of duodenum, I have shown you plica circularis. I have shown everyone what is plica circularis or valves of Kirkring. Okay. Simply you are coming into the class for attendance. After that you are not studying anything. Okay. In the internal structure of duodenum, क्या रहता है internal structure of duodenum में? In this particular PPT only those things are present, which already I have shared earlier in the group. The duodenum which is there, if you take the LS of the duodenum, if you open the duodenum, you can see circular folds are present. These are permanent folds. Those are called as plica circularis or valve of Kirkring. They also helps in absorption. Everything whatever we are explaining, we are discussing in the class, doesn't matter whether it is theory or practical, everything is correlated. ठीक है, everything is correlated. If you miss one, the other things will not be understood. You will never understand. Okay. See, numerous folds are there into the thickness of the mucous membrane, which can be seen easily. Next, there are some places where epithelium dips into the lamina propria. These are called as crypts, and in case of stomach, it is called as pits, gastric pits. I hope you have heard about the gastric pits. Yes. Next, in small intestine, finger-like processes are there. These are called as villi. Now, luminal surface of the epithelium cell bears numerous microvilli, which I have mentioned just now, and that we will be discussing next week. Okay. Next, very important secretory functions are also there of the epithelium, okay, that are in the form of glands. Okay. So, different glands are there in the esophagus, different glands are there in the stomach and in intestine also. Next, lamina propria. So, lamina propria, we know it is nothing but loose connective tissue which will support the epithelium. What is present in the lamina propria? Blood vessels are there, nerves, lymphatics, those are present. Okay. Now, in case of trachea, do you remember we have studied about BALT, B-A-L-T? What is BALT? Bronchus associated lymphoid tissue. That is aggregation of lymphatic follicles and lymphatic nodules in the lamina propria of trachea. That is called as BALT, bronchus associated lymphoid tissue. Same aggregation. No, sit down. No one will go out. After 5 o'clock, you are allowed to go to washroom. Please be sincere inside the classroom. Next, in case of GIT, okay, same aggregation is there, which you can see in the lamina propria. Though it is GIT, that's why it is called as GALT. That is gut associated lymphoid tissue. Okay, function same. So, if any lymphoid tissue is there, what will be the function? Protection. Okay, that means from pathogen, and it will also secrete antibodies in response to antigen. Next, in ileum of the small intestine, the lymphatic nodules occupy the lamina propria and into the submucosa also, and that condition is called as paired patches, which is normal. Okay, paired patches. Next, this lamina propria also provides space for mucosal depression, okay, for the glands. In case of stomach, these are called as gastric glands. In case of intestine, these are called as crypts of Lieberkühn. Okay. So, these are some modifications which are present in the lamina propria of the GIT. Next, muscularis mucosae. So, it is a thin layer of smooth muscle separates the connective tissue of the lamina propria from the submucosa. Okay. So, that is the one function of the muscularis mucosae. Now, it consists of inner layer in which muscle fibers are arranged circularly, and outer layer muscle fibers are arranged longitudinally. Okay, that means inner circular and outer longitudinal. But here the thickness of the muscle fibers are very less. Now, what is the main function? The contraction of the muscularis mucosa are important for local mixing of the content. That means in that particular area, whatever secretions will be there, okay, it will get mixed with the food, and that is done by the muscularis mucosa, and that is very important for digestion. Next, submucosa. So, submucosa is made up of dense irregular connective tissue, okay, where blood vessels, lymphatics, occasional glands are present. Okay. Now, glands are occasionally present, not in the entire part of the GIT. Best examples are esophagus and duodenum, where submucosal glands are present. Next, in submucosa, in submucosa only, already I mentioned one nerve plexus is present, that is called as Meissner's plexus. Okay. Then submucosa allows the movement of mucosa over the muscularis externa. Next, muscularis externa. So, muscularis externa is mainly made up of smooth muscle cells. Two distinct layers are there, as you can see, inner circular and outer longitudinal layer. Okay. But there are some again exceptions. Okay. Now, exception is present in case of esophagus. Okay. Now, what is that exception? As I said, the length of the esophagus is approximately 25 centimeter. Now in the upper half of the esophagus, if you see the muscles, it is completely made up of skeletal muscle. Smooth muscle नहीं रहता है. In the middle third of the esophagus, mixed, both smooth as well as skeletal muscles are there. And if you go to the lower half or the terminal part of the esophagus, completely it is made up of smooth muscle. Okay. Now why I am mentioning this? Because the slide generally whatever we see under microscope, okay, in that you can see the smooth muscles. That means mostly the section has been taken from the lower or the terminal part of the esophagus. That's why you can see the smooth muscles. Next, the circular layer which is there, as I have mentioned, two layers are there, circular layer and longitudinal layer. There are some areas where circular muscles are thickened to form sphincter. Best example is pyloric sphincter of the stomach, internal anal sphincters, okay, where same smooth muscle layers are there but it is thickened to form the sphincters. So these are some modifications of the muscularis externa in the various part of the GIT. Other modifications are also there, especially in case of large intestine. Okay, longitudinal fibers form prominent bundles and these are called as tinea coli, which can be seen externally. Okay, so I hope next week you will be studying about the large intestine, or next to next week, where this distinct feature you have to see in the large intestine, tinea coli. Okay, then hostrations or secretion, then appendices epiploicae. These are the three important distinct features of the large intestine: appendices epiploicae, tinea coli, hostrations or secretions. Okay, देखने से ही पता चलता है, then you can identify, yes, this is large intestine, and those will be absent in case of small intestine. Okay. Next, in case of muscularis externa, as I said, a nerve plexus is there that is called as myenteric plexus. उसका main function क्या है? It controls the motility, mainly the peristalsis movement. Okay. Next, serosa or adventitia. So already we have discussed about the serosa or adventitia. Okay, where adventitia is there, that means connective tissue layer, nerves, blood vessels, all those things are present. And in case of serosa, mainly it is covered by peritoneum. Okay. So that is all about the general structure of GIT. Okay. Now we will start with the first structure, that is the esophagus. Okay. So in esophagus also, though it is a part of GIT, that means all those layers will be there, right? Now what are those layers? First mucosa, submucosa, muscle coat, that is muscularis externa, and then adventitia or serosa. Okay. Now for esophagus I have mentioned adventitia or serosa. Why? Because in the upper part or in the middle part we will be getting the adventitia. In the terminal part, okay, where it is attached to the stomach, that particular part only it is covered by peritoneum. So that's why we will be getting serosa also. Now this is the diagram of esophagus. Okay. Now can you tell me which is the innermost layer and which is the outermost layer from this diagram? Yes. So this is the innermost layer and this is the outermost layer. Okay. So here you can see the lining epithelium. तो लाइनिंग इपिथेलियम क्या होता है इसोफेगस में? फ्रिक्शन होता है, दैट मीन्स स्ट्रेटिफाइड विल बी देयर. नाउ व्हिच स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वामस नॉन केराटिनाइज्ड इपिथेलियम. ओके, एंड इन अदर पार्ट ऑफ GIT व्हाट इज द लाइनिंग इपिथेलियम? सिंपल कोलुमनर इपिथेलियम. नाउ इफ आई आस्क यू हाउ यू विल डिफरेंशिएट बिटवीन सिंपल कोलुमनर इपिथेलियम एंड स्ट्रेटिफाइड स्क्वामस नॉन केराटिनाइज्ड इपिथेलियम, how you will differentiate? Why you have to think? Common sense. Stratified means multiple layer, simple means single layer. That means in case of other part you will see only one layer of cell. Here you can see multiple layers of cell. See, multiple nuclei you can see. Okay. So that's why see, बार बार मैं बोल रहा हूँ epithelium chapter अच्छा से revise करो. Go and revise the epithelium chapter. Okay, so like this we have to differentiate. There is a part that is called cardio-esophageal junction. Okay, esophageal-cardial junction, that means junction of the esophagus and the cardiac end of the stomach. If you take the section, there you can see both the epithelium. That means you can see the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium and you can see the simple columnar epithelium. Okay. So at that time you have to differentiate, yes, this part is of esophagus and this part is of stomach. How you will differentiate? That's why for that you have to know the features of the simple columnar epithelium and stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay, next which layer is this? Lamina propria. Can you see the lamina propria? Yes, see this is the lamina propria. Now next to the lamina propria, muscularis mucosa is there. Now in case of esophagus, the muscularis mucosa, only one layer is there and it is not well developed. Now can you tell me why it is not well developed? Because esophagus का function है only transportation. Okay, esophagus से कुछ secrete नहीं होता है, no digestion. I hope you know that in esophagus no secretion, no digestion. तो why this layer will be there unnecessarily? उसका कुछ काम ही नहीं है, no significance. That's why the layer is there but it is not that significant. ठीक है? Next, this layer is the submucosal layer. Okay, this is the submucosal layer. Now in submucosal layer, other structures are present. For example, dense irregular connective tissue, blood vessels, lymphatics, all those things will be there. Along with that, can you see the cut sections? Can you see the cut sections? So what are these? These are nothing but the esophageal glands, mucus secreting esophageal glands. Okay, very important. They help in lubrication so that the food can pass easily through the esophagus. Okay. Now deep to that or next to that you can see another layer is there, that is the muscularis externa. Muscularis externa. In muscularis externa you can see circular muscle layer, inner circular, and you can see outer longitudinal layer is there. Okay. Now in case of esophagus, mostly in case of the terminal part you can see the smooth muscle. If you take the middle part or upper part, then you can't see the smooth muscle. Okay. And lastly here the adventitia is seen. Okay. Now there are some important points related to the esophagus. What is that? First of all, the lamina propria of the loose connective tissue is in the form of papilla, that is finger like processes, and that is going deep into the lining epithelium. Okay, so जो lamina propria है, they are having finger like processes and these are called as papillae. Now this what it will do, it will project into the epithelial layer. Okay, as a result it will hold the epithelial layer and it will prevent the separation of the epithelial layer. Why? Because every time whenever we are swallowing something, continuous friction is taking place. Okay, so the lining epithelium can separate from the lamina propria. So lamina propria will go and will hold the esophageal layer, the epithelial layer, so that it will not get separated. Okay, that is the importance of the lamina propria, where the papillae are present. Okay, and that can be seen under microscope easily. Next is the muscularis mucosa. Only longitudinal smooth muscle is there. As I said, it is not well developed in case of esophagus. Submucosa, irregular connective tissue is there. Okay, along with that elastic fibers and collagen fibers are also present, and because of the presence of those elastic fibers and collagen fiber, if you see the lumen of the esophagus, it appears as star like or star shaped appearance is there of the lumen. Esophagus का जो lumen है, we know that esophagus is a tubular structure. So if you take the TS, okay, what will be the appearance? Star like. Okay. Esophagus is irregular, star shaped and contains mucus secreting esophageal glands, which I have shown you just now. Okay, muscularis externa composed of striated muscle in the upper third, mixed in the middle part, and lower third only smooth muscles are present. Okay. Next, adventitia, the connective tissue with capillaries, and lower 1 inch or approximately 2.5 to 3 centimeter is covered by peritoneum, and that you have to mention whenever you are writing about the esophagus. Okay. So whatever we have discussed till now about the esophagus, here you can see everything is mentioned. Mucosa, what is present in the mucosa, submucosa, what is present in the submucosa, dense irregular connective tissue, okay, elastic fibers are there, and for that star shaped appearance is there, and you are getting the compound tubuloalveolar glands. That means the glands which are present, the mucus secreting glands, which type? These are of compound tubuloalveolar glands. Okay. Next, muscularis externa. So it is mentioned upper part, middle part and lower part, what are the different types of fibers present, and in adventitia connective tissue layer, and lower 1 inch serosa is present. Okay. This is the schematic diagram which you have to draw in your practical notebook. This diagram, previous one you don't have to draw. Okay. This diagram you have to draw. No, only this part. Only no, the labeling should be there. This thing you don't have to draw. Okay, this part you don't have to draw. Only this part and this diagram, this labelings and this diagram. The esophagus in low magnification, this is the esophagus in high magnification. Okay. So in low magnification, what you can see, so this is the lumen of the esophagus. As you can see, it is having star-like appearance. Okay. यहाँ पे mucosa है. Now in mucosa, you can see all these 3 layers. First, you can see this is the lining epithelium. Okay. Below that, you can see this is the lamina propria. ये देखो, this is the lamina propria. And then this is the muscularis mucosae. Only longitudinal layer can be seen in case of esophagus. Below that, what is this? This is the submucosal layer. Submucosal layer में क्या रहेगा? Mainly esophageal glands. See, these are the cut section of esophageal glands. So you have to find out the esophageal glands in submucosa. ठीक है? Below that, this is the muscularis externa, where 2 different layers can be seen. Okay? Followed by the adventitia. And this is in high magnification. Okay. Next, we'll go to the stomach. Now, what do you think in the histology of stomach? How many layers will be there? How many layers will be there in the stomach? 4 basic layers. This is also a part of GIT. In small intestine, same 4 layers. Large intestine, same 4 layers. Now, in case of histology of stomach, here you can see this is the schematic diagram. This is not drawable diagram. This you don't have to draw. Okay? I will tell you which diagram you have to draw. So you can see this particular part. This is the mucosa. So there are some differences in case of esophagus and stomach. You have to understand the difference. This entire part is the mucosa, where you can see the lining epithelium also. This particular part is the lamina propria, and this is the muscularis mucosae. This is the muscularis mucosae. Okay, this is submucosa. This entire part is the muscularis externa. In case of stomach, 3 distinct layers are there. See, this is the oblique layer, then this is the circular layer, this is the longitudinal layer, and after that here you will be getting the serosa. Okay, in case of stomach adventitia, generally it is not present because only a small area is there of the stomach, which is a bare area. I hope you know the concept of bare area. Yes. So in case of stomach, same thing, lining epithelium is there, lamina propria, muscularis mucosa, submucosa, muscle coat and serosa. Okay. Now, what additional thing you have to notice? Can you see the lamina propria? Now, the lamina propria in case of stomach is packed with gastric glands. That means most of the lamina propria is covered by gastric glands, and 3 different types of gastric glands are there. Main gastric gland, cardiac gland and pyloric gland. Okay, these are the 3 different types of gastric glands which are present in the stomach, and those glands where they are situated in the lamina propria. Okay, so they are almost occupying the entire lamina propria. That's why you can't see other things, only you can see the glands. Ye dekho, these are nothing but the cut section of the glands. Okay, so if you have studied the internal structure of stomach, okay, you have seen that irregular mucosal folds are present. These are called as gastric rugae. These are called as gastric rugae. In between the gastric rugae, you can see small depressions are there. These are called as gastric pits. Deep to the gastric pits are gastric glands. So जहाँ पे pits होगा, deep to that gastric pits, gastric glands are present. Okay, so gastric glands से जो secretion है, that will come out through that gastric pits. So below one gastric pit, there may be multiple gastric glands, and from that gastric glands, the secretion will come out through the gastric pit. ठीक है, so gastric gland and gastric pit दोनों के बीच में जो area है, that is called as isthmus. Okay, and how many types of glands are there? As I said, 3 types of glands are there. Okay, majority of them are the main gastric gland. Majority of them are the main gastric gland, and after that, in cardiac area we are getting the cardiac glands, and in pyloric area we are getting the pyloric glands. most of the secretion of the stomach are taking place from the main gastric gland, where different types of cells are present. I will show you. If you see the other glands, for example, pyloric gland and cardiac gland, mainly they are mucus secreting. Okay, mainly they are mucus secreting. Why they are mucus secreting gland? Because see, it has to protect. For example, whenever the acidic content, if it is going towards the esophagus, if it is going towards the duodenum, okay, protection is required. That's why these mucus secreting glands are present over there. Okay. Now, what will be the lining epithelium? Lining epithelium is simple columnar, that also mucus secreting. Okay, lining epithelium is simple columnar, that also mucus secreting. Now, on the apical part of the cell, it is filled by mucin. Have you seen the columnar epithelium? Anyone? You have not seen simple columnar epithelium? Then what you have written in your practical notebook? Huh? You have studied, might you have not revised, that I don't know, but I know you have written in your practical notebook about the simple columnar epithelium. So, simple columnar epithelium, these are tall cells. If you see the simple columnar epithelium, जो cell होता है वो taller होता है, ठीक है, और जो nucleus होता है कहाँ पे रहता है? Base of the cell. So, जो ऊपर वाला part है, in that particular area, the especially in case of stomach, okay, what is present? Mucin are present. Okay, from there the mucus are coming out. Okay, but that particular part is not seen under compound microscope. Why? Because during processing, whenever we are doing the processing of the slide, at that time these are washed away. Okay, so a special type of stain is done in order to see those mucin, and that is called as PAS method. That is called as PAS method. This is a staining method. Periodic acid skiff method. Okay, periodic acid skiff, SCHIF, periodic acid skiff method. Okay, so this is a special type of staining method. When you stain the slide with this particular method, then the mucin can be seen, or else in H&E slide mucin दिखाई नहीं देता, you can't see, वो vacuolated रहेगा या तो empty रहेगा. Okay. Next, mucus secreted by the cells of the lining epithelium. What is the main function? It will protect against the acid and the enzyme. Already we know that. Next, numerous places lining epithelium dips into the lamina propria, and these are called as gastric pits. Okay, these are called as gastric pits. Now, these pits extend into the variable distance into the thickness of the mucosa. Okay, so this particular pits are there. Now, the pits extend into the variable thickness of the mucosa. That means the thickness of the pits or the extent of the pit is not equal. Okay, it is variable. Now, deep to the gastric pits, the mucous membrane is packed with numerous gastric glands. Okay, and three types of gastric glands are there: main gastric gland, cardiac gland, and the pyloric gland. Three different types of glands are there. Okay, and as I said, cardiac gland and pyloric gland, mainly they are mucus secreting gland. Okay, but most of the secretion, okay, is done by the main gastric gland, and majority of them are the main gastric gland. Okay, now the glands which are there, inside that different types of cells are present. Okay, now let me, so here you can see the different types of cells which are present in the gastric glands. Okay, as you can see, mucous neck cells are there, chief cell are also called as zymozyme cell, parietal cell are also called as oxygenetic cell, enteroendocrine cell, and the stem cells. These are the main cells which are present in the gastric glands. Okay? Each and every cell, they are having important function. As you can see the location, mucous neck cell, that means the neck of the mucus, neck of the gland. Now, see, two types of mucus secreting cells are present. Two types of mucus secreting cells are present. First is the lining epithelium, and second is the mucous neck cell. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between these two? two mucus secreting cells are there. First one is the lining epithelium, where those mucin is present. Okay, from that mucin mucus secrete hota hai, okay, which is washed away during the processing. Another type of cells are there which secrete mucus, and that is the mucus neck cell. वो कहाँ पे रहता है? neck of the gland. Difference क्या है? In first case we have seen that the mucus which is secreted by the lining epithelium, that is for protection. It protect against the enzyme and the acid which is secreted. Okay, इसका function क्या है? Lubrication. Okay, now if we go, I am not going in detail, if we go detail about the secretion, okay, one is insoluble, another one is soluble. Okay, so I am not going in detail about all those things, just keep that in mind. दोनों का function अलग अलग होता है. One is for protection and this is for lubrication. Next, chief cell, that is present in the lower third of the gland. Parietal cell, it is present in the upper part of the gland. Okay, enteroendocrine again in the lower part of the gland, and stem cell at the neck region of the gland. Okay, so these are the different regions where these particular cells are present. Okay, now what is the important function? First of all, identification, it is a columnar cell with oval nucleus, dark basophilic cytoplasm. Here you can see acidophilic cytoplasm. These are two differences between parietal cell and the oxygenetic chief cell. Next, in case of enteroendocrine cell, they are also called as argentaphine cell. Why? Because they stain with the help of silver nitrate or silver salts. That's why they are also called as silver staining cell. Okay. But an adult stem cell, it cannot be stained directly. Okay, immune cytochemistry is used in order to identify these cells. Now what are the function? Here see soluble mucus is produced. Soluble mucus का function क्या है? Lubrication. Chief cell का function क्या है? Pepsinogen. Now from so what is the function of this pepsinogen? From pepsinogen will be getting pepsin. What is the function of pepsin? Protein digestion. That means it will break down the protein into peptides, smaller molecules. After that only the digestion is taking place. Next, parietal cell or oxygenetic cell का function क्या है? Mainly it will secrete HCl, and along with that intrinsic factor of Castle. So HCl is making the medium acidic. And what about the intrinsic factor of Castle? इसका function क्या है? Very good. It helps in absorption of vitamin B12. Okay, intrinsic factor of Castle is nothing but a polypeptide. Okay, which helps in absorption of the vitamin B12. If vitamin B12 deficiency is there, then what will happen? Pernicious anemia. Next, gastrin. From enteroendocrine cell, what is secreted? Different hormones are secreted. Gastrin is there, serotonin is there, and histamine is there. Can anyone tell me what are the functions of this? देखो गैस्ट्रिन का फंक्शन एंड हिस्टामाइन का फंक्शन ऑपोजिट टू ईच अदर होता है. गैस्ट्रिन विल इनहिबिट द सिक्रेशन, हिस्टामाइन विल एनहांस द सिक्रेशन. ठीक है, ऑपोजिट. एंड व्हाट अबाउट द सेरोटोनिन? इट इज नथिंग बट ए न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर, ओके, which is mainly present in the enteric nervous system or ENS. Next, as you can see, this one stem cell. So stem cell, whenever there is any damage in regeneration or in healing, the main function is taken place by the stem cells. Okay, and here you can see these are the lifespan of different cells present. Okay. Next, in case of cardiac gland and pyloric gland, as I said, they are nothing but the mucus secreting cells. Okay. So these cardiac glands, they are confined to the area of the esophagus. Okay, means where the esophagus is attached to the stomach. The cardiac glands are either simple tubular or compound tubulo-alveolar gland. These are the classification of the gland. Mainly they are mucus secreting. Okay. Next, in case of pyloric, they are branched tubular or coiled gland. Okay, they are also mucus secreting. And occasionally oxygenetic or argentaphine cells may be present, but in most of the cases these are absent. Okay, so pyloric gland कहाँ पे रहेगा? At the pyloric end of the stomach. Okay, so lamina propria, already I told you, the connective tissue is very less scanty. Why? Because it is packed with the glands. Next, muscularis mucosae. Now in muscularis mucosae is well developed in the stomach. Why? Because different secretions are there. and the food which is in the stomach, it has to mix with that. That's why the muscularis mucosa is well developed. So see here, apart from the circular and longitudinal, additional circular layer may be present outside the longitudinal layer. Okay. Submucosa consists of loose areolar tissue with blood vessels, lymphatics and nerve plexus as usual. No modification is there in the submucosa. Muscularis externa well developed. So as I said, muscularis externa में क्या रहता है? Additionally inner oblique layer is there. Okay, as you can see, circular fibers are there, which are thickened to form pyloric sphincter. Okay, oblique layer, circular layer and longitudinal layer. These three layers are there, and this circular layer will get thickened to form the pyloric sphincter. That is a modification in case of stomach. Which layer? Circular layer. Now another modification is also there, that is oblique layer which is covering the fundus. Okay? It will form a inverted U-shaped loop covering the adjoining surfaces. Okay? Now iska function kya hai? Whenever see we are swallowing something, once it goes into the stomach, after that in stomach also peristalsis is taking place. After that it is going into the duodenum. Regurgitation is not taking place. That means it is not going in opposite direction into the esophagus. Sometime if any abnormality occurs at that time, it can take place, but generally ऐसा नहीं होता है. Okay, why? Because of this particular muscle, because see along the lesser curvature, okay, the contraction of which makes the cardio-esophageal angle more acute, thereby prevents the regurgitation of the content into the esophagus. Okay, that is because of the active contraction of the inner layer, inner oblique layer. Or else every time whenever the stomach will contract, the food material will go to the esophagus. Okay, which will cause damage to the mucosa of the esophagus, because mucosa of the esophagus is not same as the mucosa of the stomach. Next, see here also myenteric plexus is available. Myenteric plexus is also present. And lastly, the serous coat, okay, where gastric serosa is derived from peritoneum. Okay, that's why you will be getting the serosa. So in serosa, exactly what will be present? Can anyone tell me which cells are present in the serosa? Serosa means peritoneum. Peritoneum में दो layer रहता है, parietal layer and visceral layer. So which cells are present? Mesothelial cells are present. These are nothing but the example of simple squamous epithelium. Here you can see the longitudinal layer, you can see innermost oblique layer, and you can see the middle circular layer. Okay, three distinct layers are visible in case of stomach. Okay, now here, so this is the microscopic image of the microscopic diagram of the stomach. Okay, where see this is the mucosa. Okay, this is the submucosal layer. Here three distinct layers can be visible. First you can see this is the oblique layer, this is the circular layer, and this is the longitudinal layer. Okay, just see the slide carefully. The oblique layer, circular layer, and the longitudinal layer. Circular longitudinal layer easily identify हो जाता है. Okay, but oblique layer it's very difficult to identify, and in all the slides it is not present also. Now in most of the books I have seen that the histology of stomach is segregated in three different portions. Okay, where cardiac part is given separately, fundus or the body is given separately, pylorus of the stomach is given separately. Okay, so whatever we have discussed, everything is present, but what are the differences present that you can see? Now what do you think, what will be the differences? In which layer difference can present, or differences may be there? First of all, differences will be there in the lamina propria, that also in the glands. Okay, here you can see in the fundus or the body of the stomach, the main gastric gland, see different types of cells are present. Those will be absent over here and over here. Okay, next in case of pyloric part of the stomach, in muscularis externa, what will be there? Pyloric sphincter will be present. Those will be absent over here and over here. Next, if you see the gastric pits, okay, gastric pit का जो depth होता है, that depth is less over here. After that over here and here the depth is more. मतलब यहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा shallow होता है, after that this is intermediate, and the depth is more over here. So like this there are some differences between the three parts of the stomach, histologic differences. Don't know this diagram, what happened. Okay, now see, this is the schematic diagram. In this schematic diagram you can see gastroesophageal junction, that means the junction between the stomach and the esophagus. Okay, can you see the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium? See, this is the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and these are the simple columnar epithelium. These are the simple columnar epithelium. So just compare between the simple columnar epithelium and stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay. Next, you can see these are nothing but the cut section of the glands. So though it is cardiac end of the stomach, that's why these are called as cardiac glands. Okay. These are the cardiac glands, and this is the lamina propria. Okay. Next, this particular layer, what is this? This is the muscularis mucosae. See, this is the muscularis mucosae. Okay. Next to the muscularis mucosa, this entire part, this is what? This is the submucosa. Okay. Now here you can't see any gland, but this part is the esophagus, that's why you can see esophageal gland. So this diagram will help you to understand the differences between the stomach and the esophagus. Okay. Below that, which layer is this? Muscularis externa, where you can see the circular layer, okay, and you can see the longitudinal layer also. See, this is the muscularis externa, this one. Okay. Now next, this is the body or the fundus of the stomach. This is the schematic diagram, and this is low magnification. Under low magnification, this is under high magnification. Okay. Now here you can see these are the lining epithelium. These are the gastric pits. These are the gastric pits. These are the gastric glands. These are the gastric glands. Next, this is the muscularis mucosae. See, this is the muscularis mucosae. Then this is the submucosa. This is the submucosa, and this is the muscularis externa. Two different layers can be seen. Okay, and here is the serosa. So this particular diagram is very important, because with the help of this you have to identify the slides. Okay. And lastly, here you can see this is the pylorus of the stomach. Now you can see the depth of the gastric pits. It is very deep as compared to the other two, which can be seen easily under microscope. Okay. So that is all about the stomach. Now two slides are there. One is for esophagus, another one is for stomach. Okay. So you have to see the slide and you have to identify all the layers one by one.